Hello, my name is Mark Mothersbaugh, Devo.
Jerry Casale of Devo, and you're watching Plus1TV.com.
My name is Tyler Pollard. I'm the host of Timeline on Plus1TV.com. We are about 5 minutes from interviewing Devo before their first concert in Boston in over 20 years. I think I'm going to be a little blown away. Energy Dome, yellow suits, I think. Devo.
Are we not men? We are Devo. Are we not men? DVO. Are we not?
I kind of believe in the folk and the influence of rock and roll and music, and the effect it has on children at random different times of fate and influence and circumstance. So that's kind of the type of information I'd like to get from you guys.
My father was an amateur electronics buff, and he built hi-fi stereos, and he bought all these records. I think RCA put them out that had hypodermic needles on it, and it said injected with high fidelity. And so my memory of records was sitting in the middle of stereo speakers while trains would go from one speaker to the next, or Harry Belafonte would have the congas and bongos would be over here, and the bass and the ukulele would be over here, and I kind of remember it because he was always in it from the technological standpoint.
How about yourself?
Well, I think, music definitely has a primal power and influence, and I think as a kid, you're very influenced by music, even subliminally. My parents had one of those huge old wooden radios, floor models that rose up about 3 or 4 feet, and my mother would tune it to a station during the day. This is before I was starting to have to go to school. And she found some station where they played kind of like hillbilly music. And I would just stand by the radio and move to the beat, like hold on to it and dance.
I thought music was invented just to torture me when I was a kid. Like 6 or 7 years old, I started taking keyboard lessons, and it was really a drag. And it wasn't until I was 12 that the family was sitting around a dinner table, and we had a little black and white TV set up somewhere so we could watch TV while we were eating dinner, and the Beatles came on, Ed Sullivan. And I was like, yes, that's why I've been tortured for all these years with music, so I could do that. So I spent my time trying to figure out how to do that next. I instantly went out and got some sheet music, and my friend Ronnie Wyszynski, who had an accordion, came over. So my parents had a little spinet organ, and he had an accordion. We sat there and played together for about 2 weeks, sheet music from Hard Day's Night, before I realized I'd spent my life learning the wrong instrument, and I was totally depressed about it.
How about you? What was your first instrument?
First instrument?
Yeah.
The same one that I have now, bass. Went right to it.
Why do you think that is?
I was drawn right to the bass immediately, even with early Elvis Presley songs. And then it only got more reinforced by the Rolling Stones.
Mm-hmm. I have my own beliefs of what I think the original meetings of Devo were like, but was there a musical direction that you wanted to? Was that a specific layer of what you were doing that you had goals for the music of Devo, or is it just a matter of delivering the message and that rock and roll was there to help you do that?
Well, we weren't interested in following our influences and being reverent about that. He was Mr. Prog Rock, I was Mr. Blues. We weren't interested in doing anything except something totally original, because our music was coming from concepts, and then we'd find the music to make the concept work.
Right. That's really interesting to me, because that's a really hard thing to just kind of be focused on the idea and not be worried about well, that's not something that Bill Wyman would play.
Right.
Or
that's right. Exactly.
But we kind of thought of ourselves as kind of like Flintstones meets the Jetsons in a way, on what we were both bringing to it, because I was into like electronics and that kind of end of it, and he was more into like a really basic rhythm, and it was really complimentary. It was like chocolate and peanut butter.
Is there any one band that you specifically think might have helped you embrace, doing a more visual application of music?
Probably for me it'd be Captain Beefheart
Mm-hmm.
during the Trop Mask replica period, because the music was so experimental and fearless. And so it was like, see, you don't have to sound like everybody else. You can make these things up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think when we heard Captain Beefheart, I remember as a kid thinking, "Oh, rock and roll's dead. There's something new now." I thought music was going a whole new direction. I thought Captain Beefheart was like the new Beatles. In our world, he was.
One of the things I admire most about you guys is that you have remained passionate about, all kinds of artistic expression, and that's a real easy thing to lose sight of when you make music for your own, reasons. How do you think that you've maintained such an energy for art?
Well, we started that way before we made money from it, and then you kind of go away, quit making money from that, and you're still passionate about what you were passionate about before you made money. Imagine if there had been an internet when we showed up, what might have happened, what opportunity that would have given us to absolutely saturate and spread the ideas and the sounds and the philosophy and the visuals. I mean, we often think about that kind of envious because we had to do it the hard way, the kind of like grassroots building blocks, do-it-yourself, Little Rascals version. And we were just looked upon, of course, as just totally weird and sci-fi and too heavy to understand. And now, clearly what happened is those songs just sound like of their time, no longer ahead of their time, but the times did devolve so badly that the style of music that we made in terms of the way pieces fit together and the lyrics, what the words were about, seem contemporary.
Yep.
I think that's why there's a new audience today of 18-year-olds that can relate.
Yep.
And the message that Devo was about was always, ironically, it was actually pretty positive, because we were always pro-information, and we were anti-stupidity if we were anti-anything.
Yeah. Anti-conformity, anti-stupidity.
And I think the messages in our songs still resonate with kids.
We've been talking, of course, to Gerald and Mark from Devo. Thank you guys so much for your time, and have a good show tonight.
We warned you about de-evolution, and it came true. Sorry, de-evolution is real.